All right. Whoa. Well, wonderful. Perfect. If somebody could grab that back door and just close that a little bit. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Metro East Unitarian Universalist Congregation. Greetings to those who are watching the service remotely. Everybody say hello, loud as you can. Hi! So anybody who's watching will know that we're here and we welcome them. We are a welcoming religious community, and we are very, very, very glad that you are here. My name is Robin Berkeley. My pronouns are she and her. I am the past president of the congregation, and I also serve as a worship associate and I coordinate all of our worship people here in the pulpit. We are located here in the Glen Carbon, Illinois, in the middle of the Metro East. We are spiritually led by the Reverend Claudia Hall, and we gratefully share sacred space with the Edwardsville Masonic Lodge. As you can see on the screen, our mission drives us as we live our lives. We are outward reaching, inward seeking. We are creating and nurturing an intentional community that values acceptance, social justice, and the embodiment of UU principles. Come, let us question together. I'm so glad that you're here, whether you're here in the sanctuary, whether you are watching online. We welcome everyone to this home of comfort, spirit, justice, and hope. We are Unitarian Universalists. We open our service with a prelude by Joy. Thank you, Joy. An important ritual in the Unitarian Universalist. Hi, come on in. Want to come up here? Come on up, no worries. I'll wait for Claudia and Phil to get settled and Amy to get settled, no worry. You want to move the chair? Yeah, move the chair so she can get through that. Oops. Kill him. Good morning. Cool. Okay, so an important ritual in the Unitarian Universalist faith is the lighting of our chalice. Unitarian Universalists have many different interpretations of the flaming chalice, including the light of reason, the warmth of community, and the flame of hope. Today, Jennifer Lewis will be lighting the chalice. If you're watching elsewhere and have a chalice or candle, please light it now as we all join in saying the unison words projected on the screen. We gather this hour as people of faith with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, and celebration of the life we share together. We open this morning with the wisdom of Rumi, a mystic Muslim poet. He opens a call of faith that embraces everyone, no matter their mistakes, no matter their shortcomings, to return again to a new relationship with faith. And as the song goes, but which we will sing shortly, but I want to repeat his words. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, it doesn't matter. Ours is not a caravan of despair. Come, even if you have broken your vows 1,000 times. Come yet again, come, come. So that is our hymn. We will be singing it now together. Please rise in body or spirit as you are able. Number 188, come, come, whoever you are. seated. So as we get into the discussion about our UU principles here in a moment, I have a couple of things I want to talk about kind of relative to that. 1963, I was born in March. And so my mom, not that that's necessarily relevant to anything, but sets the context, okay? I was born in March, and my mom, is busy cooking dinner and whatever. A couple of months later, it's November 1963. And she saw the news story about Lee Harvey Oswald, who was being walked through some gauntlet to get to where he needed to go. And she said in her words, "Someone ought to shoot that guy." And seconds later, that's exactly what happened. We need to be careful of our words. We can joke amongst ourselves, but we know in reality that's a hard thing. And it really doesn't align with who we are as Unitarian Universalists. I know it's hard. I'm feeling those mixed feelings myself. But I think it's really important, and here's why. I did a presentation this week on unconscious bias. And I share stories. I try to share stories about my own unconscious bias and where they came from and why they're there. And as I was thinking about this morning, particularly after last night and reflecting on everything that happened with this assassination attempt, I remembered a song from Into the Woods. And I'm going to do a disservice to this because I can't really sing that well, and I'm not Bernadette Peters, but careful the things you say, children will listen. Okay? Be careful. We joke. We understand it might be a joke. Kids don't know that. Kids don't understand that, right? Cognitively. Because I have examples from my own childhood of things that were said that I suddenly internalized, which wasn't the intention, but I internalized a different message than was intended. So Jesse was here a couple of weeks ago talking about radicalization. And this is one way we can combat radicalization by being really careful about the words we use about these sorts of issues. So I do want to share a message from the UUA that came in not everybody's email, but I know the church leadership, we got these emails yesterday, late last night actually. So let me talk to you a little bit about what the UUA had to say. Unitarian Universalism believes in the right of free speech and the democratic process. Attacks like those at Saturday's political rally weaken democracy, and the Unitarian Universalist Association condemns this attack. At a time when democracy is already at risk, these events will only make our political environment more precarious. As we prepare to meet this moment, we must return to our spiritual grounding and faithful practice. Take a breath, reflect together, wait for emerging truth over quick speculation. Anchor yourself in communities and relationships that foster resilience, liberation, and strategy. Cultivate nuance and seek out deep wisdom, political analysis, and spiritual grounding, as misinformation will be rampant. Our Unitarian Universalist tradition is rooted in the values of human dignity, justice, compassion, and democratic principles. We will remain vigilant in our commitment to protecting our democracy and the integrity of its principles and the rights of all of its people. Let us keep love at the center. We are in this together. So love is at the center there. All right. So thank you, everybody, for giving me a few moments to speak on that particular issue. So let's turn back to our message for today. It's actually on resilience. As one of the statements, flexibility and fostering resilience was part of the statement from the UUA. So the sermon I'm going to read today was written by Meg Riley from the Church of the Larger Fellowship. And she talked about flawed resilience. And we'll see in the message, the FLAW, it stands for something kind of profound and flexibility, love, agility, and willingness. And as she was writing her sermon, she kind of went, "Oh, look at that? Those words all, kind of align together. It's like divine intervention, right? And the question is, how can we cultivate resilience when things feel difficult? So, of course, you'll see from her message, love is at the center. And that's how we can, excuse me, how she thinks about, those definitions, flexibility, love, agility, and willingness. Love is right in the middle of that. But you'll also see in her sermon about transformation, which is that bottom right over there, and how we can transform ourselves with resilience and flexibility and willingness. So we will get into that in a little bit. So I want you to be reflecting about these values and why they matter to us. Okay? Thank you very much. All right, joys and sorrows. As part of our weekly worship service, we take time for the expression of joys, concerns, or sorrows. Here we can each share the things that weigh down our souls or that fill us up with joy, where those who we love surround us in good times and in turmoil. If you'd like to recognize a joy, a sorrow, a milestone, you can come forward, take a stone or several stones. I've taken handfuls on days, truthfully, and put them into the bowl with the water to represent your joys and sorrows and putting it out there, sort of a shared burden amongst all of us. There are stones at the front. Come forward, choose a stone, place it in the water, and it's a symbol of what you carry in your heart. Let us be in a spirit of prayer and meditation as we do so. So feel free, please, on this side to kind of walk behind and come on up, and everybody else kind of filter in that direction if you can to do this. Yeah, that'd be great, Jen. Thank you very much. So Jen will try to direct people a little bit. Thank you, Joy. Go ahead. This one's for the universe. Almost everybody to a person up here thinks that I just dumped the whole thing. I'm like, I get it. I truly get it. Have my own. All right. Thank you. And thank you for the water, Mary. I appreciate that. All right, next. We have our story for all ages. Yay!
Reading Rhinos presents The Most Magnificent Thing by Ashley Spires. This is a regular girl and her best friend in the whole wide world. They do all kinds of things together. They race, they eat, they explore, they relax. She makes things. He unmakes things. One day, the girl has a wonderful idea. She's going to make the most magnificent thing. She knows just how it will look. She knows just how it will work. All she has to do is make it, and she makes things all the time. Easy peasy. First, she hires an assistant. Next, they gather their supplies. They set up somewhere out of the way and get to work. The girl tinkers and hammers and measures, while her assistant pounces and growls and chews. When she is finished, she steps back to admire her work. She walks around one side. Her assistant examines the other side. It doesn't look right. Her assistant picks it up and gives it a shake. It doesn't feel right either. They are shocked to discover that the thing isn't magnificent or good. It isn't even kind of sort of okay. It's all wrong. The girl tosses it aside and gives it another go. She smooths and wrenches and fiddles. Her assistant circles and tugs and wags. When she is finished, she stands up and takes a long look at it. Her assistant gives it a nudge with his paw. The thing is still wrong. She decides to try again. The girl saws and glues and adjusts. She stands and examines and stares. She twists and tweaks and fastens. She fixes and straightens and studies. She tries all different ways to make it better. She makes it square. She makes it round. She gives it legs. She adds antennae. She makes it fuzzy. She makes it long, short, rough, smooth, big, small. One even smells of stinky cheese. But none of them are magnificent. Her hard work attracts a few admirers, but they don't understand. They can't see the magnificent thing that she has in her mind. She gets mad. The angrier she gets, the faster she works. She smashes pieces into shapes. She jams parts together. She pummels the little bits in. Her hands feel too big to work, and her brain is too full of all the not right things. If only the thing would just work. Crunch. The pain starts in her finger. It rushes up to her brain, and she explodes. It is not her finest moment. I'm no good at this. I quit. Her assistant suggests a walk. It's not much help at first, but before long she starts to feel different. Bit by bit, the mad gets pushed out of her head. As they stroll along, she comes across the first wrong thing she made. The bad feelings are about to start all over again. Then she notices something surprising. There are some parts of the wrong things that are really quite right. The bolts on one, the shape of another, the wheel-to-seat ratio of the next. There are all sorts of parts that she likes. By the time she reaches the end of the trail, she finally knows how to make the thing magnificent. She gets to work. She works carefully and slowly. tinkering, hammering, twisting, fiddling, gluing, painting. Her assistant makes sure there are no distractions. This is the perfect thing to ward off bears. This will stop that leak. This one's all wet. The afternoon fades into evening. Finally, she finishes. She alerts her assistant. The pair take a good long look. It leans a little to the left, and it's a bit heavier than expected. The color could use a bit of work too, but it's just what she wanted. They climb aboard and take it for a spin. They are not disappointed. It really is the most magnificent thing.
Thank you. That's adorable. And I seem to recall using that story probably a few years ago in another sermon that I did. So when I saw it was in this one, I'm like, oh, it's so cute. Let's do the video rather than just reading it. So lots of good lessons there, right? I mean, this kid's my spirit animal. You know, and I'm sure Jessie can attest. She's seen me where I've gone from 0 to like 100 miles an hour going, I'm like, you know. But truly, you know, at the end of the day, what she's learning is that doesn't have to be perfect, and giving up is not the way to go about things. That sometimes we need to take a break, sometimes we need to regroup ourselves, and sometimes we need to rethink how we want to approach things. So that's resilience, and that's what we want to get into today in today's sermon. All right, second hymn is number 1011 in the teal hymnal. If you have one in front of you, it's called Return Again. Words will also be up there. Once through once. Thank you. Yeah, it does feel a little unresolved. Like there should be something else, but it's all good. We didn't write it. We only play it. Oh yeah, it's way more than any of us have capacity to do uncaffeinated. I know. There we go. It's supposed to be in a round two. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like, well, yeah. I mean, that Meg chose these, so we just kind of went with whatever Meg Riley thought was appropriate. So there are two readings associated with today's message. Number one is called Blessing for the Risk Takers and Failures by Robin Tanner. Today we share in a blessing for losers, risk takers, all failures, far and wide. Blessed are those who fall in the mud, who jump with gusto and rip the pants, who skin the elbows and bruise the ego, for they shall know the sweetness of risk. Blessed are they who make giant mistakes, whose intentions are good but impact has injured, who know the hot sense of regret and ask for mercy, for their hearts will know the gift of forgiveness. Blessed are they who have seen a D or an F or a C or any other letter less than perfect, who are painfully familiar with the red pen and the labels as less than, for they know the wisdom in the imperfect. Blessed are they who try again, who dust off, who wash up, who extend the wish for peace, who return to sites of failure, who are dogged in their pursuit, for they will discover the secret to dreams. Blessed are they who refuse to listen to the naysayers, for their hearts will be houses for hope. Blessed are they who see beyond the surface of another, for they will be able to delight in the gift of compassion. Blessed are they who stop running the race to help a fellow traveler, who pick up the phone, who stop for injured life, for they shall know the kindness of strangers. Blessed are they who wildly, boldly abandon winning, for they shall know the path of justice. It's lovely. Our second reading is excerpts from Good Intentions and Incomplete Efforts by Sean Parker Dennison. I preached recently in a building that was a beautiful old chapel in the country. Because it was old, it was one of those buildings where accessibility was a challenge. Now, we don't know anything about that. Exactly. The congregation had just finished, and I think the paint was still wet, installing an accessible entrance and bathroom. They'd installed a small elevator before that. They were understandably and appropriately proud, and I was enthusiastic in my gratitude as they showed me the improvements. Then they took me upstairs to the worship space and showed me the pulpit, which has 4 steps on the chancel. I know, right? Forgot about that. Those steps are not a barrier for me, but they would be for others. And we'd just been celebrating the good work and making the rest of the building accessible, and I choked. I stammered out something like, "Too bad those stairs are there," which was neither very polite nor very helpful in reminding them there is still work to be done. And then I preached from their pulpit, even though it was inaccessible, and even though I have a commitment to preach only from an accessible place in the room. In this case, that just would have meant preaching from the floor rather than going up the steps to the pulpit. The hardest times to hold ourselves and each other accountable compassionately is when the work has begun, but there's more to be done. We want to acknowledge the effort, and it feels a little awkward to say, "Hey, that's a great start. You did something great," but you're not quite there. And sometimes when we're the one who have begun to change, it's hard to hear, "I'm still going to preach from the floor since not everyone can access your pulpit." And yet, as Dr. King says, we have to grapple with our incompleteness. We have to understand that we, like everyone else, are always going to be a mix of good intentions and incomplete effort. Good results, and we can't blame the old ghost for that. So we used to blame the ghost when that happened in Alton, right? Okay, we have to understand that we, like everyone else, are always going to be a mix of good intentions and incomplete effort, good results, and some things that just don't turn out that well, and yes, even good and evil. We are sometimes selfish, sometimes complicit with systems that do harm, sometimes the cause of pain and injustice, until we can hold compassion for ourselves and others, until we can be forgiving when we fall short. Our love is incomplete. It's a great story. I mean, I picked this several weeks ago, and it just seemed, given the weekend, contextually spot on. So let me move forward then. As I said, this service itself comes from a thing called Faith Rocket, for those of you that are not knowledgeable about that. Faith Rocket was a resource that we used, and it's no longer exists, but we still have all the resources that we can use. It provides full services, readings and music and, all sorts of messages, and all sometimes you have to do is read. So let me just say, first of all, if any of you have thought, gee, it might be nice to be up in the pulpit, but I don't know what I want to say, truthfully, it took me 5 minutes to figure this out. Joy had to put the slides together and we're good. So sometimes from a time perspective, this is a nice thing, and it's easy because all you have to do is read. So as the person who's the worship associate and coordinator here, if you want to be up here, this is a great way to do it. So if you want to talk to me about it, if you feel like you want to work your way up to the idea of being in the pulpit, this is a really lovely way to do it. So. All right, so let's start with Meg Riley. She is the senior minister at the Church of the Larger Fellowship, and her sermon is called Flawed Resilience, and FLAW, as you can see there. This was from 2017. Times that are hard require more spiritual practice for me. This past year, I've been hard at work strengthening my spiritual systems to create more resilience. For me, stronger resilience requires building flexibility, love, agility, and willingness. How do I build these component pieces of resilience? Each one takes attention and time. When it comes to flexibility, I've realized that I need to have more of it physically, emotionally, and spiritually. It's hard to admit, but I can get kind of set in my ways. Fluidity can freeze up, often from judgments, petty or large, which I silently render, ranging from the correct way to load the dishwasher to what it means to be a good person. My daughter and I have that debate all the time. Just do it this way, Mom. I'm like, well, I'm the one doing the dishes, so you want to step up and take ownership of it? Not a problem. Right? I digress. I was once in a group of teenagers, and they were talking about how much more pliant they are than older people. With kindness and sadness, they discussed the rigidity they often experience when they suggested to older people a new way to behave or to make sense of the world. Feeling myself stiffed with defensiveness as they said this, I realized I kind of was behaving in the way they were just describing. Then, as is often true, laughing at myself moved me out of a frozen place and into willingness to shift and be flexible. And think about this alignment with the reading, right? The young girl is like, head explodes and she goes for a walk with her dog. Sort of getting your head in the right place. We call this sort of deep acting emotional labor, where we have to really work to get, like I said, a better headspace to express our emotions the way we need to. In this year of challenge and difficulty, I ramped up my environment to build in more flexibility. Now, mind you, this was written in 2017, so kind of gives you context, right? Yeah. I took up physical practices to increase my flexibility, deep water aerobics and yoga, but more than that, realizing that I was beginning to feel orderly to the point of controlling in my home. I invited in roommates, including a young woman with a baby and a 7-year-old child. They altered my landscape in many ways, including letting go of neatness and order. What's wrong with a floor covered in Legos and tables covered with mashed rice? It keeps me flexible. I know, right? I could feel that. Love is central to resilience, and I also invited in new housemates to increase the love flowing in my household. What makes you ooh and ah more than a baby playing peekaboo? Well, maybe kittens. So I got a couple of them too. They mostly get along with the other roommate's dog. Having a diverse household in terms of species and all kinds of other things makes love bigger and keeps my heart open. My spiritual practice is to ground myself in love, and I don't get out of bed in the morning until I feel my taproot touching deeply into love. Some days that is much harder than others. I look at the news in the morning, and afterward I am often angry at the greed or indifference or cruelty that I see reflected in the world. I do not feel in the least bit loving. I want to strike back. And though I am committed to taking strategic action to stop greed and cruelty, doing so with the goal of punishment doesn't work any better in the big world than it does in a family. The retribution of, I want you to feel as bad as I feel so you know how it feels, has never moved life forward. I know it feels good, but it really doesn't work. It's a different energy to say, what you are doing is hurting the world, and I'm going to do what I can to stop you, than to say, you should suffer for what you have done. The former is better, obviously. After reading the news, I meditate on a reading that centers me in love. My taproot of love grounds me with the centuries of resistance, often by indigenous people around the world, and poor people, people of color, vulnerable, marginalized people of all kinds. I ground myself in the strength of the massive numbers of people who resist tyranny in large and small ways daily. Only when I am there do I feel the strength to face another day with love and humility. Developing agility means that I need to be able to pivot on a moment's notice to adjust to what is happening. Things change quickly. My weekly practice for this is my improv class, where the rule number 1 is to say yes to everything that is happening, whatever the other improvisers offer up. I might be acting under the impression that a scene I'm in is taking place in the middle of a forest in Germany, but when my improv partner indicates that we're in downtown London, I go to London without even looking back. Improv is a way to playfully build agility, but I have many opportunities to do it in other ways each day. Agility's pivot may mean offering a sincere apology for making an assumption or using language that is hurtful to someone. It may mean realizing that I am over my edge, so I abruptly turn off media and go to bed. It may mean stopping a conversation I'm in the middle of, seeing that it is not useful and I cannot proceed in a way that is kind. It includes on Facebook too, by the way, friends. Agility allows me to stay awake to the truth each moment offers and not ground my identity in the belief that what is true in one moment will be true forever. Finally, resilience means being willing to get up and try again after being knocked down, being willing to try another door when door after door is locked, asking again when the answer has been no, 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 and no. Do not always feel willing. For me, remaining in a willing posture is an ongoing practice of coaxing myself, sometimes bribing myself, sometimes pushing myself hard, sometimes allowing myself to say enough and to stop. Love is central to resilience. And I also invited in, I read that already. Sorry about that. And if willingness isn't to be found without violence to myself or others, I reject that. But a simple willingness to show up day after day is central to resilience. And as Woody Allen said, 90% of life is just showing up. Now, again, we can have our critique of Woody Allen, but those words are profound. Flexibility, love, agility, and willingness. We're not going to do any of them perfectly. That's why it made me laugh to find that the concepts I viewed as central to resilience spelled flaw. Accepting that we are flawed, that we will have days when we don't want to come out from under our security blanket, and others where we feel we can leap over tall buildings in a single bound, giving us compassion not only for ourselves, but also for everyone else who is struggling to stay human in an often inhumane world. So, we just to set aside, her words now, just add a few of my own thoughts. We have talked about, amongst ourselves, right? How do we do better? How do we make some of the changes that are needed? Because, we've got solid groups in all sides that are going to do whatever they want to do, but there's this middle group that needs help and support and truth and knowledge. And so we have to be willing to not just give up, given everything that where we're at right now. We have to continue to fight. We've got 120 days to try to make a difference in the world, whatever that may be. And that's our goal right now, is let's figure out what our resilient attitudes are, what we can do collectively to make a difference in the world, whether it's sending out postcards to get people to vote, or speaking out truth, or talking about Project 2025 and Project 47, and letting people know this is not okay, and we're going to have to keep fighting for that. So join me as we do that, my friends, because we've got some stuff ahead of us in the next couple of months that I know I've got some ideas about. If anybody wants to help, come let me know. Amen, and blessed be. Our final hymn, number 131 in the gray hymnal, Love Will Guide Us. Okay. All right. As Jesse passes the offering basket, I offer a gentle reminder that this community of faith is supported only by your giving. However, stewardship is more than just financial donations, but is also about donating time and talent to help the church. If you can't write a check, please help our church survive and thrive by offering your time to help mug coffee, bring snacks, serve as an usher, serve in other committees, helping with worship on occasion, dropping the offertory basket. If you want to volunteer, Peg just snuck out in the back. She's in the other room. But if you want to volunteer, talk to Peg. We always have things. And I will talk to you about the need for some volunteer support shortly. Please donate as you can with your time, talent, or treasure. All are needed for our church to prosper. Your giving can happen. Mail it. Givelify. Please don't use PayPal if you don't have to. Because it's a pain in the butt for us. So we're going to eventually phase it out, but we're trying to just let you know. As we also have told you, we haven't really changed we haven't changed the name of the bank account yet, so checks can still be made out to First Unitarian Church of Alton if you choose to, but the bank will take, no matter, right, buddy? The bank will take whether it's First UU Alton or Metro East UUC, so no worries on that. We're working on it. We're getting there, so no problem at all. That's it. Okay, so join me in the offering prayer. May this offering equip us to inspire love and seek justice. Alex, you want to come up and say your points, and then I've got a few things I want to add, and then Peg, if you have some things, I'll have you come up also.
Well, those of you that were here recently, I'm president now. Yay! So, the reason I'm up here is to talk about the pledge campaign. We're extending it because of some technical difficulties and some other hang-ups. We're giving you a little extra time. If you haven't pledged and you would still like to, we're going to accept pledges and leave them open for this next year until the 25th of July. All right. And then I believe we plan on having a congregational meeting on the 28th after that, because once we have all of the pledges, we can talk about the budget and approve all of that, as well as answer a lot of questions and have discussions about the property that we are looking at that was discussed at the previous meeting. So
so this is your 2-week notice.
Yeah, this is your 2-week notice of that meeting. I believe we'll be sending out emails to say that as well. I think our email stuff is fixed now. Yeah, that's good.
We're almost fixed.
Yay! So, the pledge campaign is important. Meeting our pledge goals lets us do a lot of good things, like continue to have a half-time minister and do things like support RE and other good things like that. So, if you'd like to adjust your pledge, you can just fill out another form. If you would like to make a pledge and you haven't, feel free to fill out a form. I believe we're going to email a digital copy of those out as well. It went out today. Perfect. So, do we have paper copies out there?
We did at one point. I don't know if we
Yeah. Most of you, if you are already a member, should have gotten a paper copy in the mail with an envelope to mail it back. You don't have to paper post it. Yeah. So, yeah, I believe my email address is on there. Email them to me. That's perfectly fine. They will get to all the right places. So, I think that's everything. I'll emphasize this again because Claudia would emphasize this, and he will tell you, if you are not able to give, if it puts you in a bad financial position, don't. If you can't afford to give us money and it will cause problems for you, we don't want that money. We don't want that money. So if you are able to give, we welcome it, love it, cherish it. If you are unable to give financially, we welcome, love, and cherish you in the same way and even more. So that's very important. All right, that's all I got.
Yeah, that's important. Just give what you can, time, talent, or treasure. You always can use your time and your talent if you can't pay. All right, so a couple things. I know Peg has probably got stuff to add, but I'm going to sort of reiterate this. We've got the Masons pancake breakfast, as you can see there, 8 to 11. Peg, we need baked goods. How do you want it? Well, I'll let you, when you come up here, you can tell people how you want them. So she'll give us the update on that. We also need baked goods for the winter chicken dinner at the Moose Chicken Fundraiser. Please get the word out. We could make some really good money. And why does this matter? Well, we always could use money. But more specifically, in the past fiscal year, when we were in the old building, we had the great advantage of those ghost tours that people were on, and we made a good, $3,000, wasn't it? We made $3,000 from that, so we got almost $3,500. So we have a budget shortfall on that point from past years. So obviously we plan to do more fundraisers this year. I've already been in discussion with Sayer about doing a concert, maybe a trivia night or something kind of fun, getting people out here, getting the word out. So there's options out there. But the point I'm making on this is we get some good money from this Moose Lodge thing. If people show up, we get a couple of dollars for every meal. $4 from every meal. So invite your friends, invite your family, invite the stranger down the street to come and eat chicken that day. We need it. Buddy is taking photos of people, and if you have an aversion to being photographed, just tell him, obviously, that you don't want to have your photo done. But Suzanne needs photos for the website. So Buddy and Suzanne are already in conversation, and we're getting those photos transferred over to her to get on our website. So anything, whether it's a casual sort of conversation you're having, a photo might be taken, but I know board members and maybe some committee members, we need to have photos of you to brighten our presence on the web. So, and if you have any questions about why we need those photos, you can talk to Suzanne, because she will make a very compelling argument why it's important. So thank you, my dear. Oh yeah, there's a Zoom book discussion, The Agitators, 3 Friends Who Fought for Abolition and Women's Rights, July 16th from 6:30 to 8. Oh, that's on Zoom. Where are we going to get that in? Where's that? Who's coordinating that? Oh yeah, sure. So she's running that on Zoom. Do we have a Zoom link for that? We got it all. Okay, all set up. Oh, good. Oh, excellent. Yeah, I missed it. Oh yeah, I missed that too because I've been kind of busy. So my apologies. So thank you. Right, contact Mary. She's still coordinating the realm emails with Buddy and doing that sort of thing. So I know, but we love you. You know, we appreciate you. You knew you couldn't walk away 100%. Only 95%. Yep. Breakdown today and the 28th, July 21st. Only the fellowship hall has to be broken down. So, so we do have to break down today. Thank you very much for that reminder. They got to practice this week. Thank you for doing that regularly. Thank you. We need that. So as some of the questions that have been asked, like, why do we need a property? Because this is labor intensive, and this is fine for now, and it's $400, and we're really happy. And this is not sustainable long term, and we know this, right? That was always a big concern for us. So, you know, your adaptability on this is welcome, and we love you for it. But to answer the question of, well, why can't we just? Well, because this is going to burn people out. So just so we know. Let me add the last point that I told you I needed to ask for some support on. I'm happy to do all the coordination, the planning, and the buying, and all the things, but I need some help in September and the very first weekend in October with a couple of events. Number one, Alton Pride. I didn't realize I had a conflict, and I already made plans to do something that weekend. So I need somebody who's willing to take point on coordinating the people. However, I will help with all the planning. I have no problem with that, but I won't be there, so I need somebody to, Jesse, thank you, Jesse, just volunteered for that, so appreciate it. That is the second weekend, so it's like the 11th, 12th, 13th, is that correct? Is that the right? Somebody could check their calendar really quick. Saturday, yeah, whatever it is, it's around that, 13, 14, 15, so, okay, so if we can do that. So we need some, so we're gonna need also, even if you're not taking point, we need volunteers to sit their butts there, to help, to talk to people, to, you know, do things. So thank you, good, awesome, thank you everybody for that. 2 other events, and here's why I'm also asking for this help. As many of you know, my sister has terminal metastatic breast cancer. And to this date, she has been very stable on Ibrance and what have you. And the way she explained it to me is like there's 10 levels of treatment that happen as you go, once you're diagnosed like this, there's all sorts of treatments, and it's a fairly known protocol. And for a bunch of years, she was at level 1, and then she went to level 2 in the last 6-8 months, level 3, level 4, and now she's leaping up to level 6. So she has asked of me for some support with some things at home up in Milwaukee, either the last week in September, which would lead us into the Unity Fest, or the week after, which leads us into Metro East Pride. So one or the other, I may not be able to be here because I'm going to be there to support my sister. So I will need somebody who's willing to also take point on one or the other of those. I will know more once my sister goes to her doctor and we see what her treatment regimen is going to look like. But the hope is if they do this, you can do that. Thank you. And Jennifer's going to help. Thank you very much, honey. They're hoping, right, that if they can do this level 6 sort of treatment, that if it's successful enough, they might be able to swing her back to level 5, which, whatever, and do more oral drugs. But right now, it looks like it's going to be infusions, and she's going to lose her hair and all the things. So just keep her in your thoughts and prayers, and I know she would appreciate that greatly. She's a Latter-day Saint, and prayer means a lot to her. All right, anything else, Peg? You want to come up here and talk about yesterday?
So we had our first presence in the Goshen Market, and I think it was very successful. People came by. We made special brochures that Claudia helped with, and we lured them in with food and drink, and people seemed to have a good time. And we're going to be doing that every second Saturday of the month coming up. People came up, and people who were working the booth with me and had suggestions, and I would welcome those people to take charge of one of the Saturdays and follow through with some of those things. I'm comfortable with watermelon trees and lemonade and brochures. But if you have another idea, please take leadership on that and fold it in. I have the tent and all that stuff, and I can continue to put it up, take it down, get teams to do that. It's the part in the middle that if people want to help and have ideas they want to follow through on, please do. Coming up too, we have these 2 events next weekend. We could use more baked goods, because the baked goods that you bring to the pancake breakfast, we're going to take to the Moose for that bake sale too. So we really have 2 back-to-back bake sales. So we need lots of stuff. And we donate the money from the Masons back to the Masons, just to be good stewards. But we get to keep all the money from the chicken fundraiser, which should be at least $100. And then we do get $4 per meal. At this point in time, we only have 5 of the 10 people we need. If I don't get the 10 people together, I'm going to open it to Madison County Historic Society, and we'll split the profits with them, which means we won't get the whole $4 per. So we really need 5 people in the first shift and 5 people in the second shift. Oh, good. Okay, then I don't have to offer that, because I told them as a backup, we struggled the last time we did this. We need people to be there. I mean, and sometimes it's light duty, but that's their rules. So we follow the Moose's rules, 5 people all the time helping. Oh, good. So there's a sign-up sheet out there. Sign up. Thank you.
I'll be there as well. Thank you.
Oh, good.
Yeah, of course. Come on up.
This is nothing that I need commitment on right now, but I do want to start talking about RE in the fall. I'm really, really excited because we have plans for RE in the fall to start 3 different classes, which means that we would need 3 teachers every Sunday. And I do have coordinators for all 3 of those classes, and thank you to those folks who have volunteered. It'll be really easy. It's just hanging out with kids. You'll have a lesson plan to follow. We'll have the nursery and the pre-K kiddos. They're a little more challenging because they need more attention. And then we have the kindergarten through 5th grade, and then our youth as well. If you're at all interested in doing any of that, please let me know. I'm just going to sort of build a bank of people who are interested and then touch base with you later. You could volunteer once, or you could volunteer once a month or once a quarter, but I would love to have some names of folks I could call on if I need people to fill those spots. Thank you.
Thank you. And the coordinators are Michelle Bassett for pre-K. Are you doing the elementary, and then Nathan's going to do the youth groups, which will be middle school and older. So, awesome. Thank you. Just so we know the names. All right. Phew. Without further ado, let's end this. So I invite you to recite the prayer. So, the light in me not be put out. We are the keepers of His flame until we meet again. My paper's all confused here. Sorry about that. Our closing words are from Orlando Brugnola. If I said that wrong, I apologize. As we move through life, finding ourselves always newly wise and newly foolish, we ask that our mistakes be small and not hurtful. We ask that as we gain experience, we do not forget our innocence, for they are both part of the whole. Amen. Blessed be. Have a glorious day. We got some snacks out there, and we got coffee, and the sign-up sheet for volunteers. And if you have any questions about pledging, let us know. And the prelude, postlude by Joy. Thank you. Just a really quick thing on the chicken dinner thing. We need people there at 10 o'clock. So I'll be there. I won't be here at church next Sunday. I will be over there. And then once we are still going to have service, Claudia will be in the pulpit. And then everybody who's here, please come over to join us over at the Moosey Lodge. Go eat lots of really good chicken. The Moosey Lodge. So, all right. Thank you, everybody. Have a good one. The Moosey